Hi and welcome to a new video. This time I'm going to talk about some equipment and packing for the trip I did in Sarek. I had some questions from you on some items and weight and so I thought maybe it's good to make a video even if I'm not an expert in any way. I've been a few times now on longer hikes, some of them more than a week. And some of you might already have the knowledge, but some of you might be planning for the first time and maybe need some tips. And there, I think this video will be helpful. I'm not an ultra backpacker, I don't have the budget for it, and I always try to buy stuff cheaper than the original price. So I'm looking always for sales, surplus stuff if that item is in that category. And I always look for second-hand also. So a lot of my stuff are second-hand, even if they are maybe expensive. So that is my philosophy, to always try to pay less because there are better things to put your money on. So, but this is an interest of mine, and I try to find stuff that are enough for me, good enough. I don't need the latest things and the best on the market, but they need to be, at least for this kind of trips, when you're hiking longer and you're carrying your backpack for a longer pair of days, and the weight is something to think about, of course. And you're going to carry your food with you, which will plus a few kilo. So I try to find good brands and items, even if I buy them secondhand. So I'm going to explain a bit about that. And the first item in the backpack is the backpack itself and the carrying system. And you might buy something else, but I could give you some advice on how I thought. The last trip I did in 2022 I was using the same brand. I was using another backpack, and I also used it in Norway. And it was the Exped backcountry, 65 liters. And I think it's a good backpack, but it lacks a bit, for me at least, some things, and that is on the belt I didn't have any pockets for maybe putting some snacks or compass or whatever you want to put there. I didn't have any side pockets either, and no thing on the back here of maybe mesh. I'm going to show you the other backpack. So the module was okay, and I still use it, but I'm using it more for the forest trips that I do. But it was a good backpack. And I carried about, in Sarek I carried a bit too heavy. It was 27 kilos, I think. And in Norway I had about 20 kilos. So I thought, I need something else, and I find the Exped also, but it was the Exped, or Exped, maybe it's called, Exped Thunder 70 liters. And as you can see, I have side pockets. It's like heavy mesh type, a bit elastic, and also on the back. This was really good to put stuff that I wanted to take fast and get to, if maybe raining or something, then I had, for example, the rain cover. Also Exped's version, the large version. So I've had that low in the pocket. And I also had some other stuff that I'm going to explain, because those I won't take with me any more. So I'm going to explain that later on. This is 70 liters, as I said, and it was perfect for 7-8 days. You might be able to, depending on what kind of other items you're using, you might be able to carry even more stuff with lower weight. The good thing with this that wasn't on the backcountry was also that it has belts for the whole top. So you can take off the top if you want and don't bring that. Then you spare about maybe 200 grams or something. And the other one was sewed. I think it's sewed. It was not, you could only flip it. So the maximum height of the pack would be somewhere here. While with this one, if you can with these belts, make them a bit higher, and then you can maybe have the tent, as I did, in between the package and the top. The top has a small pocket also up here, so you can put stuff if you want. I used the top this time, and I thought this backpack was perfect for me and the things I had. From my earlier trips, I found out that I don't want to have so much hanging on the outside, because it's get a bit flippy, and depending on where you're hiking also in Sarek, it can be really hard with bushes and trees and stuff that gets stuck in the backpack, and even dangerous in some parts. Up on Snavavagge, for example, I had the other backpack with some stuff on the outside, and I got stuck in the bushes. So and it was, if I would fall, it was probably about 30-40 meters. So yeah, you gotta be careful with that. So with this, the only thing I had was some small things on the outside, not much. And that was working for me. The backpack itself weighs 1.6 kilos, I think. And if you take off the top, as I said, you will probably spare yourself about 200, maybe 300 grams. Then you will go down on 1.3, 1.4, something like that. So it's okay. The weight is okay. But I think the backpack itself is pretty good. One other thing is, you can, when you put down the backpack, you can open up zippers on both sides. So you can open up the whole front and get your stuff. And that was working very well for me in the tent, because I was putting the backpack like this on the back, and I had the rain cover in under to prevent wet ground to water inside the backpack. And then I open up one side, and I could get all my stuff that I wanted inside the tent. Even if it was raining, because I had that in the vestibule beside the tent itself, then it was really handy to get all the stuff from inside the backpack. So that was the backpack itself, and it has 2 pockets on the belt, and yeah, I could have my snacks there. I had some things that I wanted to get very fast, maybe snacks, nuts, compass, or a headlamp, and so on. So it for me it works really well. This is the old version. There are a newer version, and I guess that the textile is maybe a bit more weather resistant, because that's the difference between the backcountry and this one, the Thunder. I think that has 3000 on the water resistant. Maybe this has like 1500. So yeah, but it works. I don't use a liner inside of it. I have everything in dry bags instead. I also have the tent that I have with me, and I have had with me, and that's the Hilleberg Soulo, or Solo. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's really good tent. It's a bit heavier than maybe some of the lighter versions of tents that comes now, like Thurston and so on. But this is not an ultra backpack tent. Some of my friends had the Una, the Hilleberg Una, and they have had it also. They like it a lot, and it lacks maybe a bit of vestibule that this has, but is bigger inside instead. So therefore, in the Una you could probably have a partner there. I wouldn't have my friend. I think it's too... you're too close to each other. But with a partner, then I think it would work, because you can have... I think you can have 2 60 centimeters pads beside each other. This is one person only, but it's a good tent. It has a good weather resistant, wind resistance. It's probably one of the best in the category. It's a 4-season tent, and it has also a weight of 2.4 or 2.3, I think I measured mine, but 2.4 with pegs and also. It has, I think it's 16 pegs. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, it gets really steady in hard winds. So for me, I feel safe in it, and I think it's a really good tent. I will probably not change it, even if there are some really good tents that are a lot lighter. The first time I was in Sarek, I had a Vango, a Scottish brand, Vango Banshee 200 Pro. I still have that tent. I think it's a really good tent, and I felt pretty safe there. But the comfort in this one, because it's higher, and yeah, you have some it's easier to maybe put your clothes in and so on, clothes on inside. So it's the comfort is better in this one. The weight is the same on the Vango, but the Vango is a pretty good tent. I felt really safe even when we had really hard winds there. It's an older tent. I'm not sure if you can buy it now, but I think it's a really good tent. But this is my preferred one. I had it in Norway also. It was heavy winds there, and I felt I didn't have any problems to sleep, for example, and I felt safe. Good tent. So tent and backpack we have talked about, and now to the sleeping system. The sleeping system, I had a new sleeping bag. I have had 2 other sleeping bags earlier. This was the first down sleeping bag that I bought. I've had synthetics, but this time, and also in Norway I used this. It's a down sleeping bag. I bought it second hand. I bought both the backpack and the tent on second hand or outlet. But I also paid this second hand, but it was on Tradera, which is, I think it's like the Swedish eBay. That's, you see, even if it was second hand, it has all the prices and tags and everything. It was a Pajak Core 550. It has I don't know now. I think it has a comfort of -9, maybe -6, -9. I don't remember now, but it's warm, and it weighs, I think, this is the long version, so it weighs about 960 grams, I think. And now I have another sleeping bag in it, but I use this Drybag or sleeping bag to put the down bag in. This is the Sea to Summit, the blue one, and it weighs nothing, a few, maybe 100 grams, I don't know. So I put the sleeping bag inside of that, and it compresses, gets really small, so like maybe this. I think you could use even the smaller. I think this is the medium size, so I think you could probably use the smaller one, I think it's yellow, and compress it even more. This is the long version, and the reason for that is because I sometimes put stuff that I want to hold warm inside in the bottom, and also because I get a bit cold around my feet, so therefore I sometimes put stuff, for example, if I have a fleece or something I want to put there, then I put there so it's not cold in the morning, and maybe socks also. So that's the reason for that. My sleeping pad that I used, I don't have it now. No, I don't have it. Is the Thermarest NeoAir, NeoAir X Lite, and it's the older version, but I have used the regular size, and this time, and in Norway I had the wide version, so it's 64 centimeters wide. And the reason for that is because I sleep on the side, and I sometimes on the regular version, which is 51 or something, I fold down on the side. It fills also the floor of the tent pretty well, so it fills up so you can't fall on the sides as easy in this one. And it has the R value of, I think, 3.4 because it's the old one. There are another newer version, I think it has like 4.6 maybe, or 4.3, I don't know. But it's pretty. I'm pretty pleased with the sleeping pad. It's the round version, so it's not rectangular. And the weight of that is about 400 grams, I think, and the regular version is 340 grams. So they are really light. Probably one of the lightest, except maybe some really ultra backpack sleeping pads. but with the R value of 3.4 or 3.2, I don't know, they are really good. I also paid second-hand, but it wasn't that much either, maybe 1/3 of the price. With that sleeping pad, I always use another of some, I don't know what you call this, Cellplast foam or something like that, some plastic version. This time I use this one. It has no especially good R value, but it's really cheap and it works really well to prevent any holes to or anything from the ground to stick into the thermarest, the Neo Air. So I use this. It doesn't weigh any much, and I had this on the outside. This was the only thing except some bottles on the side pockets that I had on the outside. So I use this, but I'm going to show you another one. I use this often in the winter. It's the Thermal. I used it in Sarek also, but it weighs a bit more. It's maybe 400 grams or something. The other one is, I think, 150 grams. It's really inexpensive. But this is like 400 grams, I think. This is the regular version also, so it's 51, a bit smaller than the other sleeping pad that I'm using on it. But it prevents also from the floor, but this has a better R value. So this, I think it's 2, R value of 2. So you can stack that together with the other one, and then you get 3.4 together with this is 5.4, which is pretty okay for me in the winter. And if it's really cold, I often put some aluminium version, really thin. I don't have any here, but yeah, I put that just under everything as a ground sheet or something like that. So I can recommend this. This is also the Thermarest. It's the Thermarest Rich Rest. Yeah. 2.2, R value 2. And there are of course others. This is what I have used. So just look, but you gotta research maybe a bit about the R values and how you see with the comfort value of sleeping pads before you buy something. Because you might not buy exactly what I show you now. The sleeping bag I put together with the sleeping pad, the one that needs air. So it's really small, it's about this size, the sleeping pad, Thermarest Neo Air. So I put them together inside of a airbag, or the airbag for Thermarest sleeping pads, because it's weather resistant. It's like a Drybag. So I put everything inside that, and it's really big, and then I just close it a bit, and then I put everything else on top of it. So in the bottom of my backpack, I put the sleeping system in the bottom. Yeah. I have one thing that I've used also, and that is to prevent the moisture or condensation from the tent to wet my sleeping bag. That is, I don't have it now. It's like a sleeping bag cover, which is weather resistant up to, I think, 10,000 or something like that. So you could probably lay down on the floor with it. And I put that on top of my sleeping bag when I'm in it. And that is to prevent weather to maybe wet my sleeping bag down on, because sometimes the moisture or condensation that hits the tent inside, it can wet your sleeping bag a bit down the feet. So I have that to prevent it. It weighs a bit. I think I'm going to change it to something lighter maybe, but those are often not so expensive. So we'll see. It's from Alpkit, the sleeping bag cover. Alpkit. And then I had with me, and I carry that in all my trips because it doesn't weigh anything. It weighs 70 grams, I think, or 40, I don't remember. 70. It's a GR Gear light backpack, and it's really for sometimes that you want to leave the tent with all things down, maybe to climb some top. Then it's like a 20 liters backpack. Gets really small. This is the inside, so you have to. Then you have the carry belts. You can have water, maybe some food, and for day pack. So when I'm hiking with the backpack, I'm using poles, hiking poles. It doesn't need to be any expensive things. The ones I had, I paid really cheap. It was on sales also, I think. It is a brand called Urberg. It's a Swedish brand. Urberg poles. I have had them for, I don't know, 7 years. I've been hiking with them in Sarek 3 times, in Norway once. In the winter, I've been hiking with snowshoes also. So, yeah, they work. Some not super light, but they are not super heavy either. I think the weight is 500 grams, so it's not really heavy. And it's necessary because it takes off the stress on your knees. And it's necessary to have poles for me, especially when I'm going downhill or descending. So yeah, I would probably use other poles if these were broke down. Then I would get some other. If I'm talking clothes, the things you're wearing, I use Haglöf's LEM jacket on me. It's a rain jacket. It's Gore-Tex, and I have had it for a long time, so I'm using it still. It's really light. The weight is 260 grams, and why I'm not changing to something else is because of the weight. Because I had other jackets that also are rain jackets, and you either get wet from inside or the outside. And the Gore-Tex is a good textile, but at some point you're getting wet. If you've seen my video of Norway, I had 2 days pouring down on me. So I was totally wet for a few times down to the inner layer. A few times also, but when the wind hits you during a long time and the rain has stopped, then you're getting dry from your own warmth. So it's a mindset. You need to learn how you function, and of course in the winter it's different because that can be dangerous. So you got to be careful, of course. But yeah, Gore-Tex is going to get wet, so it's just depending on how much rain it comes. We had pretty rainy days in Sarek. I got a bit wet, but it wasn't that bad. But I still like the jacket and I will use it in the future also. There are a few things I will change. This time I used a rain skirt for the first time, and I can't find it right now, but I will maybe show a picture of it somewhere. It's not me, it's someone else carrying it. But it's a really good solution, I think. The brand I used is Skalmo Silpoly Rain Skirt. It's a Swedish brand here in Umeå that makes them. And I used it. I'm really pleased with it. I will probably use it in the future also, instead of rain pants, which I had with me a few other times. I didn't have that with me this time, but I had it in Norway and I had it in Sarek the last time, the earlier time. They are really good rain pants. I will use them in other situation in the forest or somewhere else, but not when I'm hiking longer trips, because I'm getting totally wet from sweating inside. It's getting too warm. They are breathing. It's some type of Gore-Tex solution also, but you get wet from sweating. I had my old other pants also on, of course, and these ones are from Kashua or Decathlon. I don't know the model. Doesn't say. A bit bulky maybe, but if I would pay for Haglöf's version of rain pants, it's pretty expensive. It's really expensive, so it wasn't for me. These are really cheap, and they had the zipper pretty high up, so you could take them off with your shoes or boots on you. So that was what I was looking for. The weight of these are 400 grams also. The rain skirt is only 80 grams. So yeah, I will take the rain skirt on any hiking trip where there is a chance of rain, not snow. Then you can use other solutions. I didn't have a pillow this time for the sleeping system actually. I used some Drybag version that I think this is from Decathlon, but it could have been whatever. The Drybag with the sleeping clothes. When I take them on, when I'm going to sleep, I put other stuff, the down jackets that I'm going to talk about later on also. Put maybe that inside of these or the pants or whatever, and I use that as a pillow. That I'm going to change in the future. I'm going to use a Trapology pillow instead in the future. It doesn't weigh anything. It's, I don't know, 80, 70, and they are pretty good. Also pretty cheap. I bought that on Amazon, I think. The bags with clothes, I often have some Hestra gloves. No, the Hestra gloves I have with me, it's not winter versions I use, it's some mid version. I don't know what they are called, but the Hestra. And I use that for hot pots or when I'm maybe if it's really cold and I need some gloves, then I put them on. I also use a pair of 4-class waterproof MT500 mittens, also from Decathlon, really cheap. It was really cheap when I bought it. I don't know. The prices went up a bit, and now we don't have Decathlon in Sweden. So yeah, but it was really cheap. That's why I got the stuff I got from Decathlon was really cheap, because it was early on. I'm also going to talk about the down jacket that I'm used on my trips, the MT100 for class also. It's a down jacket, very popular now, but I bought it just before it got popular, and I paid nothing for it to be a down jacket. So yeah, but it works really well. I think I will use it until it breaks. The mittens are good if you don't want to use the Hestro gloves, then I use the mittens only. And I also use them if it's really pouring down and I need to be able to do stuff with my hands around the tents, and I'm getting really cold, because it can be hard winds there together with the rain. Then you get very fast cold on your hands, so therefore I use them sometimes for that. They weigh nothing. It's 50 grams, so I use the mittens also in my backpack. It gets really small. I have on my first layer, which was also merino wool shirts. I had a fleece over that, and if it got cold, then I had my Haglöf Slim as a wind protector or a wind barrier. And if it got really cold during the night, then I put the down jacket on me. And if it would have been colder than that, then I would probably put another first layer, because I had two during the hike to change between during 1 week. And during the night I had another first layer shirt and pants, also merino wool, that I could change to. So I always had a clean pair that I was sleeping in, and I put them on after I have cleaned myself with wet wipes, or a bath that we did during the mid of the hiking week in a really cold spring or pool. So I cleaned myself. I put on the fresh pair of first layer. I had some wool socks, 3 millimeters, to hold my feet warm. And then I had a beanie, merino wool also, thin merino wool beanie, and a tube, a buff, like this. I could use the buff if it's warm, like it was now. Some days I only had the buff on my head. Didn't even take the beanie. So yeah, depending also how warm are you. So you need to test yourself. How warm? What do I need? But layer up, or have the stuff that you can layer up. And I layered up also socks in my boots that I had. So I had a thinner merino wool sock, and then I had a thicker wool sock on top of that in my boots. And I have a wool sole inside my boots that prevents some coldness to enter the feet from under. The boots I'm using is Lundhags Vandra Mid. I think it's the version 2. I'm not sure. The weight of those are 730. The weight of the Marmot fleece that I told you about is 200. And the down jacket is 100 grams, so it's nothing. And that was the clothes that I had this time. The stove I used was Soto Amigos with a stealth igniter. So that was the stove that I used together with a gas tube. And I'm really pleased with the Amigos. I can show you now because it's somewhere down packed. But I had, if you want to maybe have something cheaper or not so expensive, the Soto Amigos was a few hundred Swedish crowns, so it's maybe, I don't know, 50 euro. I'm going to show you the cooking kit. I used the Toaks 750. I have used that on every trip except in the winters when I'm having a bigger Toaks. It's 1100, I think, milliliter. Earlier I used these stoves, some cheap but pretty okay stove. No special brand, but it works really well for the just cooking water, because I ate my food was often dry freezed food, and I also had a backup, and I did have a backup this time also with the Soto Amigos if something would happen with the stove. So I had I think it's the same version as the BRS, but it is on brand, but it's the same. BRS, it weighs, I don't know, 47 grams, something like that. And I think this one's is maybe 89 or something like that. Really light stoves. That, don't know, I'm going to see, 280 grams, this one. And you can make your own wind, prevent wind from getting to the stove on the small fire with some cover. This is something I've done myself, some aluminium and I had a spork from also titanium, unbrand, don't know the brand of that, really cheap, bought it on maybe AliExpress or something like that. Works and no weight. You can probably use an aluminium spork or whatever, doesn't matter. I use this cup, it's a Swedish military, I think, foldable cup. Doesn't weigh much, they weigh 20 grams, and I also have used the bigger versions of these sometimes. In Norway, for example, I use this one. So if you want a warm cup of maybe chocolate or something in the evening, then they are really good. And no weight. So that is the cooking kit. I used a water bottle, or I used 3 water bottles. I had this one. That's the Nalgene bottles. The good thing with these are you can put boiled water inside. If you close these really well, you can use it as a warm element in your sleeping bag in the night. or put them to warm up your boots inside with hot water. Then you will warm up the leather or whatever when it's cold. So Nalgene bottle, I had one this time. I had two last time, but I had two small water pet bottles with like, I don't know what they're called now. Well, they work. They doesn't weigh much. The Nalgene is a bit heavy. It's 200 grams just for the bottle itself. It's 1 liter that I have. The pet bottles didn't weigh anything except the water. And I used a water filter. Yeah, the water filter that I used was this one. I had a Seconhand bottle or whatever to carry 2 liters water. And then I had the Sawyer Mini as a water filter. So I could put that on here, screw that on, and then filter the bottles. So this, you open up filtered water inside of the bottles that I had with me. The 3 bottles, the Nalgene and 2 pet bottles, plastic. The Sawyer Mini has it's a good filter. I've had it forever. I don't remember when I bought it, but I had it really early. And it works. It's not fast. The water flow in it is pretty slow. So I would probably change to another filter. Maybe the Sawyer Squeeze or Hydro Blue or something else on the market that has a better flow. Because during the hike, when you stop, you need the time to maybe make your food and so on. Then you don't want to take forever to filter your water. It's got to be fast. I would use a B-free or whatever they are called, the plastic bag with the filter on top. So you just fill them with, and then they are really fast. I had friends with me on this trip that they used it, and I might use some of those solutions instead. On some places I didn't filter the water because it's pretty clean streams. They are coming from the mountains, but some are glacier water. It's not good to drink. I don't know the exact reason for that, but I've heard it's not good. Sometimes you can boil the water, but just to filter it. And there are situations, maybe if you're in a forest or something and there are not much water, but you find some other slashy, maybe not that clean water, then you can filter it up if necessary. So it's good to have a filter with you. In the evening, to filter water was not a problem. I didn't have any expectation that it wasn't necessary to be fast and so on, but during the hike I would have preferred something else that was a bit faster. I had this last time on the video I showed you. This is the 11 liter Hypolite pod, and it's not necessary to have this, of course, but I had that, and the way I portioned everything was I portioned everything for 1 per day. So I had the breakfast, the lunch, the dinner inside of 1 zipper bag of 2, I think a 2 liter zipper bag, and all food was also in zippers. So I had the dry food, for example, was repacked in zipper bags. which I put the hot water inside, and then just to prevent the dry freezed foods packs are pretty sharp and they are weighing a bit, so I took them off and I used plastic bags, and they are a lot lighter and also easier to pack. You could, now I don't have maybe, but if you can make this really small, for example, a zipper. So I use that for the food, and it works really well. I've used it also in Norway, so earlier. So I will repack my dry freezed food. One of these 11 liters worked for 5-day portions, and some snacks and candy and so on. I filled these. In the future, instead of buying another of these because they were expensive, I found these ones, the 6 Moon design pods. A bit smaller maybe, but you can stack them on, and they came, I bought a 3-pack, so they came in different colors, so you can stack them on, and you can use these for maybe electronics, these for something else, medic or whatever. So yeah, depending on how you're planning, you can make your own solution for that. So I use pods. You could use dry bags if you would like. I have used it in earlier. It works, but I prefer these ones because this, when you stack them up, they are filling your backpack really well, so there are no gaps on the outside. And even if you have gaps, then they are really small, so you don't. They are really filling everything up in a good way, so you don't miss volumes in the backpack. For showering, or because we were stopping, and the last day before heading home, we were at a mountain station and we could shower and everything. I had washing clothes, microfiber travel sport towel with me. I used that when I clean myself in a stream pool also. So yeah, it weighs nothing. It's getting really small. Nothing to complain about. One recommendation that I have is that even if you have found some good dried or freeze-dried food, I, for example, used turmat, which I think is pretty good. The taste is pretty good, but you're getting, after a few days, you're going to eat it as lunch, dinner. If you're going to eat that 14 times minimum, you're going to get pretty sick of it. So I would recommend to have something to change between. I had, for example, ramen noodles. The ones I took with me are about 400 calories per portion. So I ate that together with maybe something else. I had fajitas bread with me, small package. I had some Danish salami. I had some beer sausage, some dry beer sausages with me, and my breakfast was not the freeze-dried food. It was my own muesli that I have made with some dried fruit also, just to change a bit. So I recommend to have something to be able to eat between, that it's not the same. So at least for me it was that. So I recommend to have something else too. With me I also had some other stuff. Mosquito net. Didn't need to. I have been to Sarek every time in September. There are not a lot of mosquitoes, and when you're up above the tree line, there are no mosquitoes, or there are very little of them. So of course I saw them, a few of them, but they weren't. I didn't need a mosquito head net for that. This was the spork I told you about, long version. Really handy if you're having the Turmat or original pack also, because then you don't get food on your hands or fingers. This was the bottle tips that I used. I could use that on the plastic. I will use that in the future probably also. I had big sliders. I had a few of them on different places. I had them with the stove if the stove lighter wouldn't start or function. I also had a stainless steel. No, now I can't remember what it's called to make a start a fire starter. With me, a small one, pretty small, in case necessary. I don't know. I had some wax for my boots, leather wax. I wouldn't take this whole can the next time. I would put some wax in a smaller container of some kind. It weighs a lot, so this is not necessary. This towel, I used a Swedish towel to wipe off any moisture or condensation from the tent, inside the tent, or outside also, if you want to dry up a bit faster. And I also had a sharpener for my knife, because I had a knife with me. And I have some thoughts about that later on. So I'm not sure if I would use this next time either, because what I'm going to tell you about. The knife was a Fällkniven, Swedish brand, Fällkniven F1. It weighs about 300 grams, probably a bit more because I have cordage and extra stuff on it. If you're going in a bigger crew and you're going hiking, it's not necessary to have this big knife. You could use a smaller Swiss knife or maybe a Optinel, I don't know, the sizes 7 or 9. It works well for that kind of trip. When I went to Norway, I would have taken this, even if I'm going today solo, because I was Soulo. So I need some protection if something happens. I don't know, a bear or something. But I would not take that as big knife with me in Sarek again if I'm going with a few others. It's not necessary, and it's too much weight for that. So therefore the sharpness is not necessary either. Maps and compass is really necessary. That it would probably be after sleeping system, carrying system and everything else. You should have these always. A compass, I use this one. You could use whatever you like or prefer. And a map of the area. Where we were going, we're crossing 2 maps. So I had both of the maps with me. They don't weigh much. They are Tyvek material, water resistant material for the maps. but where one of them stopped showing the rest of the trip, we had to look at the other map. So they are necessary, and this is probably as necessary, or it is. I had a really bad injury last time, and we had this in reach. It doesn't need to be an in reach, but it needs to be an SOS GPS device, because if something happens, these are necessary. They can be life rescuing you, which it did for me. I wrecked my knee. They had to take me in the middle of Sarek in the forest into a helicopter, and they flew me to nearest hospital in Hilleberg. So that was the last time I was there in 2022. So I had a really bad knee injury. But it could be whatever. It could be an accident, someone falls, break a leg, whatever. These are necessary, especially if you're going solo. But we had 2 of these because we split up. 2 went up on the mountain also during the trip. So we had the possibility to communicate with our family through apps in the mobile with these through Bluetooth. And I would never go without these devices. There are other brands also. I can't talk about them, but the InReach is really good. This is the version 2. InReach 2. Garmin InReach 2. When we crossed rivers and streams, I used some surfing shoe. I don't know. A surfing or bath shoe. It works really well for crossing streams, but I have another shoe that I used the last time, and that was the Crocker. They're a bit bulky. You have to have them often. These ones I could put inside the backpack in one of the bigger pockets. These I would have been having hanged on the outside. I still prefer these ones, because these ones I can put a socket on my feet and then put my feet inside of these and go around during the night and still be warm on my feet, or have warm feet. So therefore I prefer these ones. But for the crossing of the rivers and streams, both works similar. These ones was good also, but these ones was cold, but I couldn't get anything else except my feet inside of these, and they have breathing holes. So during the evening, when it got a bit chilly, they were pretty cold. So with some socks and these ones, I prefer Crocker. These are really necessary items. Also a lamp. I had a headlamp from Nightcore this time. The Nightcore NU43, I think this one is called. Works really well, but I used it only once, when I had to look at my lines, tent lines, because it was really hard winds in Rottesvage when we were there. That was the night when I saw the Northern Light also. But that was the only time I used the headlamp. I actually used one of these. from Diamond, I think. You might know that brand. 150 grams, I think it weighs, and had batteries. But it works as a tent lamp. I had that instead. And I have instead a separate, which I recharge by USB-C. So this works. This was also USB-C. And as for electronics, I used 2 of these Nightcore power banks. These are the second edition, I think. 2 of them. Those together weighs 300 grams. I used Antec. I have had this forever. Antec power bank also. These are 2000. It weighs a bit more. I don't know, the total weight is 450 grams. And some cables together with that for USB-C. I also have these now. Temperature. I don't know what it's called. But it's showing the temperature during the night. It can show the lowest and the highest. So it weighs nothing, and I have that on S carabiners. It works really well. And the power bank, why I used like 40,000 on the power banks was because of the recording. And I used my mobile this time. I didn't have a camera equipment with me because it puts about 2.5 kilo together with everything, filters and everything. And I used a small with now I'm recording from the mobile, so I can't show you, but mobile mount on this one. I have some fast mounting pads. I don't know what they are called. And I use this tripod. Gets a bit longer, but it's a short version. I have another long, but it weighs a bit more than 1 kilo, and this one is about 600 grams. 600 grams together with the mobile, the mounting kit, and the power banks that I used. And together, because of the mobile doesn't have enough space for the recording of 4K, I also have a Samsung T9 SD disk. Small, but it can carry 1 terabyte. So I had to move files from that to this one, clean the mobile disk a bit from storage of photos and video, and then I could record 1.5 days more the rest of the trip on the mobile. So I don't know, the total weight of all the electronics was about 1 kilo something. And also the tripod and the mobile kit was about 700, so 1.7. And with I had with me sunglasses, Oakley. Can't find them now. Yeah, here. Sunglasses. I didn't use them this time, but I used them last time, and in Norway, I think one day also. I would probably have them again with me, and if I'm fishing, for example, they are polarized. Because you never know the weather. So I think it's necessary to have them with me. They don't weigh much, 80 grams. I also had a pair of reading glasses because I'm getting old and I see worse now. So I had a reading glass because of reading from maybe repair kits or eating kits or some, I don't know. It's necessary sometimes. I had a poncho tarp with me because we thought we would need one. I would probably never take that with me again. If I do that, I might not take something else because it's not the lighter version. It's the Sea to Summit version, but it's not the lighter version. It weighs about 400 grams. I'd never used it. There are maybe trips you might need a tarp, but I was in my tent and everyone else was in their tents. So yeah, will I take it again? I think not. So there are some things I would exclude from what I have taken with me. I would change the Sawyer Mini to some other water filter. I would exclude my water resistant pants, my raining pants. I would exclude a big knife. If I'm not going solo, then I would take it. And then the sharp I would also exclude if I'm not going with the bigger knife. I would exclude the might be some other stuff. I had too much food with me also. I don't know how I counted, but I think I changed in the last minute and then I had like 4 portions too much with me. And you should always plan for, if you're planning for 8 days maybe, and you're planning to eat lunch and dinner, for example, breakfast, something else, then for 8 days it might be 16 portions. Then you might put some extra portion, at least 1 or 2, if you would, something would happen and you need some extra food, just to prevent from not having anything. Yeah, something to keep you your energy up if something happens and maybe takes a more day or something like that. I was traveling with bus and train there to the start in Ritsen, where we started. The other guys went with flight. I couldn't fly there, so I flew back together with the other guys. And then I left, because you can't take gas with you and fluids and so on. We left everything on the mountain station, the last one we were at. And also we were sleeping one night in Gällivare at a hostel. But to put everything, the backpack and everything during the flight, because you can't take that inside of the plane. I had a cover, travel cover for all my whole backpack. It weighs about 200 grams, maybe 150 or something, 180 grams, I think. You can have a address and name tag, and it's like a bag, so you have a handle. You put everything. It works really well for up to 80 liters packs, I think. And there might be others, bigger ones also. But this one worked perfectly for mine. So it wasn't bulky or anything, and it works really well. So that was the equipment that I used, and I'm really pleased with how the whole trip went. I was able to finish this time the trip. The last time I was injured, so I had to cut after 7 days. Sarek. I've been to Sarek another time also, but 5 days from. But it was before this YouTube channel. So yeah, that was my equipment. And if you have some questions, just write it below in the comment field, and I will try to answer the questions. I've been in Norway. It was a bit different, but very similar hiking, only a bit shorter. I was there only 5 days, but I was Soulo, and then I was having to plan for being Soulo, of course. But the equipment I used there was almost the same. So I wouldn't change much of the equipment that I have today. I'm pretty pleased with that, but there might be stuff that you feel you want. Yeah, there are other brands, but still I recommend, why not looking for secondhand, and maybe on sales have some. If you wait a bit, you might find a better price somewhere, maybe friends, I don't know. But yeah, I hope you will find the possibility to come out in Sarek. It's really nice. Just take your trash with you and be careful with the environment and nature there. It's the last wilderness we have here in Europe, and we need to be careful with our forests and natures and national parks, with the wildlife and everything else, to have respect. Don't put trash in the fields and leave stuff. We have seen, even in places you think that no one have been, and we find trash. It's really, you get a bit sad when you see that. It's the people that hikes and are in nature, they should be better, not throwing stuff in the nature, in the outdoors. So with that said, I hope you will have a nice future trip and hike, and maybe be able to have some thoughts around this video, even if you're not using the same equipment. Be careful, of course, always plan, and don't take chances. Can be devastating, so be careful and take care of yourself. If you like the content, if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want. I will try to make good content in the future also. Hope you will enjoy, and have a nice day. Bye bye.